G'day guys. Well, this is our first have a go at it, you know, around the campfire, but we're doing it live. And I've got Matt and Adam from Arcpoint here to talk about canopies. We'll talk about a lot of other stuff as well, but we're having a cook up at the same time. So we've already got a couple of questions already here, and we may as well start with them. So, do you cater for girls' ute trays?
Of course we do.
Okay.
Of course we do. No, they're all the same. In the past, specifically for girls, but yeah, so much the same as the guys' ones, except usually with a little more detail.
Yep, and I'm guessing, well, Georgia, are we talking colours as well? Because I'm sure I've actually seen that they've got pink and all sorts of stuff, so I think they've got that covered pretty well.
Yeah, a couple of pink Max tracks.
Yeah?
Yeah, goes on well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yes, no problems at all. Holly, how long from start to finish does it normally take to finish a tray? A tray, not a canopy, a tray.
From start to finish, once it goes through design and right through to the end, is probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Depending on what's in front of it, of course, and what's going on in the workshop at the time. But the lead time itself, a lot of it is waiting. So say your lead time's at 14 to 16 weeks. It's just waiting to get into that design department to get drawn, and then goes to the floor. And
does it matter if it's steel or aluminium?
Not really. Some of the steel trays, if they're more basic. And we've just recently changed the design of our steel tray to try and reduce that time to give people a more run-of-the-mill cookie cutter type of tray, so it's not as custom as our aluminium ones.
Yeah, okay. And what is the process the same on how you measure them up to fit them and all that sort of stuff?
Matt, that's probably a good question for you.
Yep. Like most of the steel trays that we do are from more like the Australian market, I suppose, like your Hilux, Land Cruiser, D-Max, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So they're already sort of done.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very rarely that we'll do like an American.
Yeah, okay.
Most of it's already done. So.
And so, do they get a choice if they wanted it painted or powder coated?
They can, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all still customisable. You can put rear racks, toolboxes, all that sort of stuff on.
Yeah.
But yeah, same principle.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Just not as many options, I suppose.
Yep. All right. And then we've got a question for you over there, Jonno. How many times has Jonno called his van a troopy? I'll answer that for him once he tells me. Well, you know, it happens. Oh, look, but seriously, love the vids, guys. Oh, thank you. That's great. Glad you do. But he has called his van a troopy 3 times. So, pretty cool. All right, so let's... Oh, there, man, look at that. Here we go. Got him on there too. That's cool. All right, so have we got some more questions coming in? Because I can't see. And so tell me, when you build a canopy, what's the process of that? So just say we've walked in there, like I won't use mine as an example because that was a miracle. But if you just come in off the street and you say, look, I want a canopy for my D-Max.
Yep.
First thing, what the customer's after, like if it's for touring or for work.
Yep.
And just get a basic description of sort of what they're after, and then back and forth through the quoting process. Not everyone knows what they want either, so to begin with. So
yeah. So you actually go through that process with them to see what they're wanting.
Yeah, for sure. So and usually I advise just to not try and put too much in it straight away if you don't know what you're looking for, because you might have stuff in there that you just don't need. So
yeah.
And from that point, goes through to the design department, like we mentioned just earlier, and the design gets drawn up by Matt, goes out to the customer for approval, so they get a full set of drawings to approve.
Yep.
So they know where everything is, things are in the right place, What we've taken as information from the customer is actually what they're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
They can see that clear as day before it actually goes into the workshop to get built. So, and then runs through all the different processes through our workshop.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, that's cool. I'm not seeing any other questions coming through. Has anyone got any questions out they want to know about a canopy? I mean, look, I've got to say, with the way that was built, I'm just really impressed, like, on the whole attention to detail on the canopy, but just that structure of how you've built this sort of like frame structure underneath it to mounting it and all that sort of stuff. And is that something that's done on every canopy you build?
Yeah, I guess from the mount set up is pretty much the same for every canopy.
Yep.
Yours was a little bit different. We came out here to Bushman's to measure up.
Yep.
Because we hadn't done the landy before.
Yeah, yeah.
So we had to run a tape over it and pick our mount points, make sure that there was no clearance issues with anything underneath.
Yeah.
And of course, that's not always, be able to be perfect from the get-go.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to go from just a tape measure to putting it on and not running into any problems. So, but we do the best we can to make sure.
You didn't do too bad a job, really, on that.
Yeah, it did well. So
yeah.
So there's always something because, from that mount point up is where we work. So it's got to be free and clear, and there's always something that the manufacturers like to throw in there to make it a little bit more difficult. Whether it's a bracket, could be one bracket can ruin your day.
Yeah, yeah. I know
So
what you're saying.
an exhaust mount that wasn't accounted for. So
yeah.
But yeah, doing a new vehicle, that's the process. So you start with a measure up. You've got to go from your mount points on your vehicle to roof heights, to the centre of your wheel, to the rear of the cab. Make sure that everything's going to fit and line up properly. So
yeah, okay. Oh, we've got something here.
Check off.
G'day, hi Ian. G'day Jamie. I'm curious as to the difference in weights between an alloy tray and canopy versus a standard tub. Also, can you say g'day to Jojo for me? Jojo? Who's Jojo? Jojo for me. And keep me in the good books. Oh, Jojo. Hi Jojo. That's cool. So what's that? What would that be?
So all tubs are different weights.
Yep. But if we go, Ian, give us what tub you're referring to, just to give us an example, so we can work with what you're talking about.
Yeah, it does depend.
Yeah.
They could be from 100 to 200 kilos, depending on the vehicle.
Yeah, some of the American trucks tubs are quite heavy to start with all the technology in them now.
Yeah.
So they've got automatic actuators that open and close the tailgates and things like that. So, but like for like, aluminium and steel, to answer that part of the question while we wait, is usually 50%. So there's a 50% reduction in weight.
D-Max.
D-Max tub, yeah.
So be about 100 kilos.
100 kilos, yeah.
More
So
towards that 100 kilo.
and
Right, so 100 kilos.
and your
So-
basic canopy body's probably 220.
Yeah, canopy. I think canopy body's 220, and then if you put like a lift-off canopy and a tray, you're probably looking around that 400 mark,
Yeah.
I'd say.
And so the D-Max,
That being at 1800 long, so for a dual cab.
yep. So a D-Max with a tub and a canopy, because I don't know what they'd sort of weigh the canopy on.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the fiberglass ones. so-
Yeah,
not
but
sure.
they're not
That'd
going to
be
be
up
that
around that. No.
heavy. So
Yeah, so you might be slightly heavier with a full body.
Yep.
You got a lot more room in there too, so they're a lot bigger.
Yep.
Overall, so
yeah, right. So what weight were we then?
for a dual cab, like the basic body,
Yep.
is about 220 kilos.
220.
That's from mounts, mudguards, taillight channel, the
Yep.
body itself, and then everything you add to it, toolboxes, underbody drawers. That's all going to add weight.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. All right. No, very good.
But then if you mount it to a tray, obviously you've got the weight of the tray as well. If you put a tray on the back of the car and then put a canopy on there as well, you're sort of looking
So
at
what's a tray weigh?
another 200 kilos.
So you're up to 400 kilos.
Yep.
Yeah,
for a
if
tray
you
and canopy.
if you tray and lift off canopy.
And
yeah.
see, this is where it comes into when you're building something to suit what your needs are, is you've got to then get your suspension right, because you've got to work out what you're going to carry in it.
Sure.
to get all that together as well.
It's definitely something that you should look into
Yeah.
and research, you know, during that early stages of the build, because you could be up for GVM upgrades, things like that.
Yep.
You know, that's becoming more and more of a focus point.
Well, I mean, I was out there at yours a few months ago, and you had 6-wheelers there.
That's right.
You know, like, what do they get? How much can they carry on the back of them?
Well, again, I think there's different levels of that. I'm not 100% sure of the specifics on that, but the
Yeah.
bodies get bigger. So,
Yeah.
you know, on a dual cab vehicle now, you're putting a 2400 long Canopy Plus. So we've put up to 3 metres so far. So we've got one in the moment that's the 3.1 metre
Yeah, right.
tray and canopy going on it. So they can, you know, some of those are truck licensed vehicles too now. So,
Wow.
you know, they're getting up there in their weight. So.
Yeah, right. Well, I hope that's answered your question, Ian. Okay, Ned Kelly. What do you feel is the biggest mistake people make when planning a canopy build? I've just got to turn this over and give it a spin. So we're just doing a cook up at the same time, so bear with me.
Do you want to answer that one, Matt? Huh? We've probably got two different answers for that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Mine would be trying to put too much in it straight away.
Yep.
It's trying to allocate every spare inch. Unless you really know what you're looking for, then I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that we come across. It's maybe not a mistake. It's just you're limiting yourself unless you really know, like, this is what I'm taking. And we have people that come in that definitely know that too. So
Yeah.
they've planned everything out. They know exactly what they need, where it's going, what size drawers they need, everything. So, and then there's the people that don't know, that think they need everything to cover themselves, where, you know, they're going to save themselves a whole lot of room and probably a whole lot of money as well if they sort of just maybe go for a trip or two with just the bare necessities, maybe a single storage unit inside, and then branch out from there,
Yeah, gotcha.
which
Yeah.
a lot of people do.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, that makes sense too.
Yeah, the biggest mistake that I find is door alerts. That's my biggest thing. We've had maybe a dozen customers that have smashed their door off their canopy
Yeah, right.
just simply because they don't have an alarm or something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to be one of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you know.
Yep.
You know.
It's one of those things, you know, until you've done it,
Yeah.
you don't realise that, it's definitely something I'd recommend putting on every canopy.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing for me, I find.
There's nothing
Is
more
that right?
embarrassing
Yeah.
than driving down the highway with your side door up, and I know from experience.
Yeah.
So,
Canopy's no good without a door, I suppose.
Well, this
You've
is
gotta wait for
true.
it to get fixed and
That's so
cheap
true.
insurance, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Ian Cuss. Oh, g'day, Ian. Haven't seen you for a while. Hope you're doing well. All right. So from what Oz Anzac, from what I've seen, their production quality is superb. 100% it is.
well, thank you very much.
Yeah, it is. It is so much attention to detail. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Can't quite hear Matt speaking. Speak up, Matt.
I'll get a bit closer.
Yeah, I'm not mic'd up, so I've got to cuddle out.
I'll come in for the cuddle.
How do your canopies go? This is Amber. How do your canopies go in the weather?
Jamie, I guess you can answer that.
Well, I can answer that. When it's cold, they hold the cold inside that canopy. I tell you, wow. I open that canopy, like I've just been away and I've been in snow and I've been in real cold conditions and wet weather and all that sort of stuff. You open that canopy in the morning and it's like freezing coming out. It's like a fridge. It is crazy. So I reckon it's going to work reverse when I'm in the heat. You know, it's not going to be hot inside. It's going to be cool inside. You know, so, and I know I'm going to put that to a lot of the double paneling that's in amongst it all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We spend a lot of time sealing them, making sure they do seal, keep dust and water out of them.
Oh, it
'cause
definitely does.
That's an important part. You know, that's probably one of the first questions that I get asked when people come in to talk about canopies is, you know, is it going to keep water out? Is it going to keep the dust out? Because people put, you know, a lot of gear inside them. There's a lot of money tied up in what's inside them. And we spend a lot of time during the check-off part of the build at the end, water testing, running hoses in every crack and crevice that we can find. just to make sure of that. So, you know, it's not always perfect, and you know, over time, seals degenerate, things like that. So they do. It is a replaceable product that you need to keep the upkeep on.
For sure.
But when they leave, we do everything we can to make sure that they do seal properly.
But I mean, perfect example on my toolboxes. You can drop my toolbox so you can see a full ring of dust right around the outside, nothing inside.
That's good.
So yeah,
That's exactly
so you know it
right.
works.
Yeah,
And then what I really like is that drain hole that's in the bottom of that box. You know, in the door. It's in the door.
Yep.
Yeah,
That works a treat.
that's a must-have.
Yeah.
You know, just you don't want the water pooling up inside there and giving it any sort of excuse to come inside. So.
But I never thought of it before. You know, it's only because you see it and you see how much mud, sludge, all that sort of stuff comes in. Yeah, that works an absolute treat.
And that's test and measure too. Like when we first put those drain holes in, they were a lot smaller than what they are now. And you know, just from feedback from customers and just seeing them come back in for different things when they're coming in for upgrades or whatever, just seeing that, oh, they're blocking up or whatever. So you know, we do change things on the go as well to make sure that you know we're always improving those types of things. So
yeah, gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. Right. Aussie Anzac. I drive a D1 through, and I reckon I have now get the old Defender on the road. The tray definitely be worth it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you've seen my the Canopy and tray on back of mine. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that'd be good on your D1 doing it like that. So that'd be awesome. Is there a limit, Amber? Is there a limit to how much the Canopy can be customised to suit needs or preferences?
probably get two different answers off us. Matt, he
give
draws them, so he'll probably tell me a new one after this. But of course, there's limits. You know, there's limits of what you can and can't do with them. However, we do heavily customised builds, and you'd be surprised in what you can put in them and what we have put in them.
Yep.
Of course, that part of it is it's expensive, so it takes a lot of man hours, a lot of drawing, a lot of hair pulling out to get that to work, and it doesn't always work first go either. So custom's always something that we do our best to get it to the floor as a working finished product, but we still may have to alter that, go back into design, rework some things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's an expensive way to do it, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you look at the side of your truck, how much attention to detail's gone into that with the coffee machine, the pull-out pantry, and
that's right.
Well, you name it. Kitchen sink.
It's pretty much got everything in that one. So
it's how far you go. Yeah. So what's your answer to it? I love it.
I knew that would be.
Very design intensive.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could take, we've done jobs in there that have 400 drawings that you've got to manually draw up each time on the computer, which I think took me 5 days. That's the most intense one we've done.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that on?
That was for a Fuso.
Oh yeah?
For a canter. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep. It was Alan's canter, so that was the...
That was that white one I saw.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, well that had...
It had everything in it as well.
Yeah. Wow, that was crazy how much that had.
Yeah, it had a 300 litre diesel tank on the front of it, bloody everything.
And is that on your website? Is that?
It's not actually. I've got a lot of photos there. I've been probably the last I don't know, probably 12 months. I've probably been pretty slack on getting those builds out there, but that's something that we want to improve.
Well, I can't tell you to go and look on the website at that one. All right.
Just keep an eye on socials and websites, and we'll get something up there so you can see
that's
it
the go.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a mean unit.
It's a cool build.
Yeah, well, I saw how many different sections to it, sort of thing. So, that's amazing. Yeah, right.
It was pretty cool, but
it is a big job for design. Yeah, exactly. So,
for sure. But as long as it's legal, we're happy to do it.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Hi, Vic to Northern Territory 4x4. How are you? All right, so fire away with any other questions you might have. Because, I mean, I've got them here, so they can answer all these questions.
For sure.
But we'll go back into talking about like how often do people get like you know, like how I've got the extra large jerry can holder on the back, and
Yeah, look, there's always something, I guess, that, you know, people make their own.
yep,
And I guess they, a lot of the time, leave it up to us to come up with, you know, they might give us, as you did with that, I need somewhere to store some wood. And we could have just put a basket on the back to hold the wood, but, you know,
Yeah.
at least this has a dual purpose. You can use it
Yeah.
for more than one thing. And yeah, there's always something, I suppose, that is a little bit unique. So it is regular. We do customise stuff regularly
yep,
to suit people's needs. Like, we get a lot of business owners and even just, you know, single tradies that have got their own unit that need like specific tools or equipment placed in their canopy to make it work. And you know, we've done complete builds
yep,
based on, you know, what the customer has there to fit inside it. So, and a lot of the time they'll leave it up to us and how that goes together.
yep,
As long as we've got a good idea of how you know, how often you need to get it in and out of the car. Does it need to come out of the canopy? Does it need to be fixed mounted? Does it need a power run to it? You know, things like that. As long as we've got a good brief there, we can usually work something out.
yeah, gotcha. Yeah, well, see, what we were just talking about is on the back of my Land Rover, I've got these jerry can holders that are a lot wider than, so you can't fit two in there, but you can fit one in there. But it's so I can pull jerry cans out if I want to run the jerry cans, and I can put wood in there, because the last thing you want to do is put wood in your canopy when you're out bush sort of thing. So it's just the perfect place for me to stash a heap of wood for the fires.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and works a treat.
And look, to give credit where it's due there, that idea was actually comes from that Fuso project too, the owner of that.
Right, there you go.
That vehicle needed something very similar, and we did a similar version of that, so for him. So
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, and that's how it all comes about.
That's right.
Everybody's, you know, extra bit that they do. Okay, Aidan, how often do you do the two-tone colour like Adam's canopy?
not very often, thanks, Aid. I'm pretty sure I know who's sent that question through, but it's extremely difficult with powder. Well, I found it extremely difficult with powder because I'm not a
I
professional
don't even
powder
know
coater.
about it.
So the inside of the canopy is red on
Yeah,
on
I know
ours,
that part.
and on the outside the black. So with paint, you can tape things up and hit it. With powder, you sort of got a limited what you can do. You can tape things up just like that, but if any dust settles on the other colour, it'll bake it into it through the oven, the baking process. And
Right.
yeah, for professional powder coaters, it was probably really easy to do, but I seem to find the hard way to do everything. But
Well, you've got to start
You
somewhere,
do.
don't you?
But it came out all right. It looks pretty cool, but not very often. So we've done it a few times. The first time we ever did it,
Yep.
a good customer of ours, we did his F250,
Right.
and I had a minor meltdown over that and spent 2 days buffing his floor inside his canopy because it didn't work to plan. But I learned a lot, and I've done
didn't have a choice, did
no,
you?
that's right. So, and we did it the one small. Every now and then we'll do it on smaller items,
Yeah.
but on the bodies themselves and things like that, it's time consuming. It can be done, but don't do it very often.
Right. Well, I'll have to take some notice of that. That's for sure. Okay, Amber, if you guys come across a problem, the process of building the canopies, how long does it take to rework or fix that problem?
Wow, that really depends on the
issue,
problem.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
some things are relatively easy. Some things
What's a problem that happens?
we can damage them in the assembly process or in the build process somewhere right down the line.
Oh, right.
That, you know, if we make a mistake, especially with powder coat, you can't touch it up a lot of the time, and it has to be disassembled and recoated.
Right.
If you're talking about design, like fundamental stuff that doesn't actually work when we take it to the floor, again, that's depending on what it is. So,
Yeah.
and half the time you need to work out whether it's, you know, why it's not going to work.
Yeah, gotcha.
If it you know, if it's impeding on something or if it clashes with something. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a hard one to answer. So, but yeah, it can be quite a big deal.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, you know, we've had stuff that, you know, we've had to fully rework from scratch. So back to design, run
Yeah,
it
right.
all the way through, you know, to do it. That's part of the learning process, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. A question I thought people would have asked is, how much weight can you put on the roof of one of these?
Yeah, so we say, what, 150 kilos?
150 kilos,
Which
yeah.
is usually,
Yep.
you know, sort of
That's
what,
pretty safe.
that's pretty safe.
I reckon that would be really safe.
Yeah, yeah.
It
Yeah,
is really
it's
safe.
more on them, but-
People do put a lot more on them. So you got boats and storage underneath boats and everything like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, we don't have a set, like an engineered weight that it can go on
So
there.
you've never
So-
actually done like a crush test sort of?
No,
No,
no, not as yet. So we're not quite at that level yet.
No, but
So-
it's just interesting to know those sorts of things because you know, you talk about rooftop tents today, you know, they're getting up there in weight.
That's right.
I mean,
yeah,
I think one of the heaviest rooftop tents is nearly 120 kilos.
that's right. Yeah,
So you got the rooftop tent, but then that had to be bolted to the roof rack
that's right.
and whatever it weighed,
Yeah, for sure.
and then they had to have that awning on the side of it.
Yep. And you got solar panels on the roof.
Yeah.
Yep.
All those things. So,
Yeah, so, you know, I guess as a static load, you could put way more than that. So
Yeah.
when it's just sitting there, so just driving, putting weight up high on any vehicle, you know, you've got to weigh up, you know, well, you've got to be careful in what you do.
Oh, for sure.
You know, you're bringing your centre of gravity up.
Yeah.
And things like that. So I even noticed since we installed the rooftop on our display, it's made a difference to how the vehicle handles. So
Yep.
you know, you just got to be across that, I guess. So
Yeah, gotcha. My phone?
So-
My phone's not here. It's over the car. So have you got, is there questions? I think so. Oh, really? Okay. Do I need to go over there? Go and get the phone? All right, I've got questions coming from Instagram.
Yeah, I'd say 150 is a pretty safe bet.
it's probably overcautious, but yeah, that's
Weight rating on the roof, yeah. Like they're pretty rigid. We've got top hats running front to back. Internally of the roof, and the roof structure itself's
the profile of the roof
Yeah.
is very strong.
Yep.
It's got internal corner panels which
Yeah.
help support it.
Yep.
Okay, Will, are all the products used to make the canopies or trays Australian made?
As much as possible, but I can't.
All of them.
Not all of them would be, no. So there'd be components.
Yeah, so it's only going to be your little
All the
pieces.
hard-
Yeah, bits and
correct.
pieces. That would be, and you'd be struggling to find someone out there that would have that like 100% Australian.
Yeah,
You know, nuts and bolts and things like that. Yeah, it's definitely hard to confirm where they come from as well. So.
yeah. So,
But built from scratch.
yeah,
You know,
But-
the body is like what we build is
Yes.
built from scratch
Yes.
in
Yeah.
our
And
workshop.
All of our suppliers are Australian suppliers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't import anything. No.
no, that's fair call. Oh, question to me. What made me pick Arcpoint? Well, honestly, it's pretty simple once you look at attention to detail, because I sort of honestly haven't seen like I've seen a lot of canopies and I've had a lot of canopies over the years, but it's the process of how it's built. And you know, when you can go into somewhere and they can look at it, answer your questions, or measure it up, how they could measure it up and just build this unit in one go was amazing for me. But again, the attention to detail and everything lining up in measurements, gaps, all that sort of stuff is a wow factor. That's how come I went that way. I remember probably the first two canopies I ever had made, I've gone with my own concept, my own ideas, and I've told the guys that what I wanted and how I wanted it. And look, they were okay. The first one completely fell apart, and it was aluminium. because I think it was too light on how they'd built it, but it worked fine. And then the next one, it worked well, it was thick, but I think the way it was all welded together, it got a lot of cracks in it, in around where the welds were, so that was the issue. But I had everything done stainless steel inside of it, and it completely fell to pieces, everything inside. So that's just two Canopy examples that I've had in the past, and that's talking over the past 25, 30 years. So, and I've had probably, I'd say 7 or 8 Canopies in that time. So, yeah, I've only done probably 7,000 or 8,000 kilometres in this vehicle so far, and I haven't done nothing too rough or anything like that. But I mean, you'll see it as it happens with whatever goes on, but I can see that there is nothing. There's no movement in anything so far at all, and I'm a lot heavier with this canopy than I have been with all the canopies I've had, because my last, I weighed in before I went away on my last trip, because I was prepared to go to WA, because that's where I thought I might have been going, and I weighed in at I think it was 3.6 without 2 people in the car, so, and 1 tank not full. So realistically, I'm not much under 4 tonne. So that's a lot of weight on the whole vehicle. But at the same time, I'm catered for that because of what I've got in setup. So, and I've always run with heavy vehicles when I do the stuff I do. So, yeah, it's that's how come I went that way. All right. What's the turnaround from design to delivery? Well, we had that from Will. Yes. Do you prefer aluminium or steel?
Aluminium.
Yeah, aluminium. Yeah.
Hands
Aluminium.
down.
Yeah.
Just for the weight, and there's no rust.
Yep. So that's your factor of, so it's weight and no rust.
They're the 2 big ones.
And
yeah.
then I get another guy that goes, all right, well, I want to throw my big boxes in the back of it, and I need some weight in the back of it. So then they go the steel.
Well, not necessarily either.
No?
Like, I guess some people like to go with steel because, you know, it's stronger. And I say that in inverted commas because, yes, aluminium is more malleable than steel. Like, you can dint it, you can poke it, and it'll lift up where steel maybe won't.
Yep.
However, it's all in how you put it together and how strong it is at the end of the day. So if you're worried about them coming apart or not being able to take a load as well, so we've got customers that'll load up, you know, huge amounts of weight on, you know, big American, like Dodge Rams, for instance, with our contractor's tray where it's got, you know, side pull drawers full of tools, underbody drawer full of tools, water tanks, diesel tanks full with pods on the back, and all the farming equipment or the equipment that they need to work on vehicles, and you know, they hold up. So
yeah.
it's just how you put them together. So
Yeah, okay.
you know, that's you know, a lot of R&D goes into that sort of thing, and you know, the training that we've had, that's you know, combined to be able to allow you to do that. So
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. That's interesting.
although some people just prefer steel, so you know, especially from, you know, where we're from,
Yeah.
you know, it's a big farming community. There's, you know, farmers are, you know, they like their steel trays. So
Wood floors or?
some of them, I got
Yep.
asked one of them the other day.
Yep.
We don't do the wood floor,
Yep.
but you know, in saying that too, you know, we've converted a few people too that you know, wanted steel trays. We don't do steel canopies. We've never done steel canopies. So
Right.
they're just too heavy. You
Yeah,
know,
for
they're
sure.
too heavy on the vehicles, and you know, as you know, vehicles aren't made like they used to be, so they're not as solid, and you know,
A lot of them are toys.
that's right. And everyone's watching their weight now. So
Yeah.
you know, I think more caravans and tow vehicles get pulled up at the scalies now than trucks do. So, you know, you've got to be right on top of that.
Yeah, for sure. Murray, is your setup a tray plus canopy, or is it one unit? Mine is one unit, so it's the whole thing comes off. I bolt it onto the next vehicle, or have it changed to suit the next vehicle, or whatever can be done, can't I,
Yeah,
with that
for
one?
sure.
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
because mine was customly built for this, because you know you don't see too many of the 130 extra cabs, but it's a 2400 long tray, so it would be just changing some mounts to put it onto another one. So that's how that can work. AJ, what's the biggest ute truck you can build a canopy tray for? That's interesting.
Wow. Thanks for that one, AJ.
Yeah,
We've done some pretty big units.
yeah, like your truck canopy is probably the biggest one. Like a maybe a Fuso or something similar to that. Like a truck canopy, they can be up to like 4 meters long.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we've done them up to 4 meters long before.
Full canopy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
full
right.
canopy on the back of a truck. Yeah.
You can fit some stuff in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's a different set of rules too, so that you gotta be careful of that as well.
Right.
You're up in the heavy vehicles, so you've got mod plates and things to think about as well. So
Yeah.
and just your way of thinking about how a rigid truck works.
Yep.
Anyone that's driven one will know that they're just heavy bouncing
For sure,
a lot.
for sure.
So, but yeah, that's probably where we'd pull up stumps there. We wouldn't probably go any bigger than that, I don't think.
No.
We're not set up for it either, so.
You might not be set up for this next question. Are you guys thinking of opening sheds in different locations and building your trays and canopies?
Well, it's never. I'll never say no.
Yeah.
Watch this space, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? It doesn't stop. Oh, this is a similar question to the last one. The car looks great. Do Arcpoint make all different sizes? Yes.
Yep.
That's what you've just answered. So.
For sure.
Yep.
Do you do tag-along tours? No, I don't do tag-along tours. I was going to go down that path, but we have this problem with government, councils and all those sorts of regulations that cause so much grief, problems and heartache, it makes it really difficult in the local area. When we do, if we were doing Cape York, the desert, all that sort of stuff, yep, it can be done, absolutely, but I'm not doing it at this stage in time. I've got too many adventures to take on myself and go those places, so not at this stage. Will a hot water system be strong enough if you reverse into a tree? Now, I've got mine covered, so
Yes.
I'll stoke this up.
Look, it'll always dent.
Yep.
Has
Has it happened to anyone?
It has.
Oh, has it?
It has. Yeah, I did it at Fraser not so long ago at the cleanup.
No,
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't hear about
so
that.
Thanks for bringing that one up, guys.
It's a bit of a soft spot.
Yeah, with all the technology and all the reverse cameras and that we put on it, and I still missed the giant tree behind me when we pulled out of camp one morning and backed straight into it.
Oh, really?
So, but a testament to the guys that built it.
It knocked the whole tree over.
Not quite.
You knocked the whole tree
no.
over?
Yep.
Yeah, right.
No, it still held up. We didn't crack out or anything like that. It just dented, and yeah, we'll get that one fixed up and move on from that question.
Yep. Righto. Okay.
Thanks, Will.
Yep.
Okay, so, oh, that's a good one. Do you make trailers?
We have.
You have?
Yeah, sure.
Wow. Yep, they make trailers. There you go.
We've done some pretty cool ones actually.
Oi.
So that look,
No.
basically a version of our tray as a trailer. So we've
Right.
done. I think we've done 2 really decent size ones. So
Two,
one that was 6.5 meters and one that was 8 meters, or 7 meters and one was 8 meters long. So
Yeah, okay.
both 4.5 ton
4.5.
rated trailers. Yeah. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, one's still getting around. It's got we're still getting around locally, I should say, in Toowoomba. So it's got a canopy on it. So the guys up at Michael's Electronics use it to head out west and do their trips out there to service that area.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. It's all fully aluminium.
yeah, all aluminium.
Tray.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's interesting.
They were cool to do. So again, the laws have changed around trailers. So unless you're a trailer manufacturer, it's it's harder to build them now. So
Right.
there's more regulations around it. But if you follow that, you're fine. So
Yeah, okay. So how did you boys get started, and how long has Arcpoint been around?
Wow.
So, for those who don't know, Adam's my stepdad.
Mhm.
And one day he approached me and said, "Do you want to start a business?" And I just said, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to."
Why not?
I think
Yeah.
there's a million things to do, but yeah, so we went down that route, and then obviously we started off.
It's
not
just the
doing-
two of us.
Just the two of us, yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't our whole grand plan wasn't to just do trays and canopies.
Yeah.
But sort of when COVID hit, we sort of pivoted direction there,
Mm-hmm.
and
We were predominantly service based before
Yeah.
that, so we were doing outsourced manufacturing and project work because it was just the two of us, and then COVID sort of pulled the brakes on that. And like
Yeah.
Matt said, we pivoted to a design of tray and canopy, and it sort of exploded.
Yeah, right.
sort of been doing that for about 4 years now.
The trays and
Trays
canopies,
and
part.
canopies, yeah.
Yep, yep.
But Arcpoint itself, nearly 7 years old.
Yeah, right.
Started in 2018.
Yeah.
Well, it's done very well, very quickly, really.
Yeah, we've had a lot of help too. So we've got probably a really good team, one of the best,
yeah.
I reckon. So and a lot of support from our families. There's a lot of hours that
Yeah.
we're not around, and it takes that support from everybody, and
Yeah.
and to have your team support you as well, because
Absolutely.
to do that, and other businesses and other companies that have helped us get noticed or get out there. So
Yeah,
we can't forget those people either.
Well,
so-
and when it comes to that, I was just on a podcast recently, and I was actually talking about you guys, how you took your team to Garry for the cleanup, because I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's so good, the support of doing that, and it's like when you can bring your team, you've got the involvement of everyone doing it. I think it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Andy from Custom Lithium, he's taken his team up to the Don River Rally.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's going to be cool.
You don't hear about companies doing that so much these days, and when you can support like that, that you're working with a company of
Yeah.
growth and going places.
It's
so.
not an easy thing to do. So that's a big effort from a lot of people. Again from our families.
Yeah.
And from everyone to be able to have that space to take the whole team up there and not actually produce anything as a small business
Absolutely.
that's not an easy task.
No.
But it was definitely worth it, and I think everyone enjoyed it, and we had a great time, and it was for a good cause, and
Yeah, it's a mixed bag all the way around.
that's right. Everybody wins in that, I think. So
But I was really surprised, it's going off the subject of it, but, the guys' girlfriends are telling me how that they've done the canopy and this, that and the other, and I'm like, yep. I thought it was
they're all
awesome.
pretty invested. Yeah.
They are,
So-
totally.
But just to go a step further back too, so to how we got into sheet metal and things like that. So actually, Matt and his brother were apprentices at another company that builds canopies, and
Yeah.
they coached me along. I was driving trucks at the time, and they said, come and work for this company. It's a great company, and I knew nothing about it. And, they were working through their apprenticeships, and Matt ended up as probably one of the youngest team leaders in welding there, and then we worked our way up through that company and learned a lot, and then we all went away from that company in different avenues, not looking to start anything, and then it was by chance one day that we sort of struck up that conversation and just said, let's give it a go.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and there's no right time to do that. There's no easy time. There's no perfect time. It's just you got to
Did it, yeah.
get out and give it a crack. So,
Yeah, absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. You've got to have a go.
Yeah.
You always do.
Yep.
No, you'll never know otherwise. I'll just keep reading different questions.
Yeah.
Can canopies come in any colour? For instance, could I get a fully pink canopy, like the whole lot pink, no other colour
Sure.
with it?
Of course you could.
Absolutely you can. You
Yeah.
can have a pink canopy, everything pink.
It-
I just learnt that you can powder coat things together and do everything. I thought you actually had to pull everything apart to powder coat. I didn't realise that you could just have something bolted together. It won't get powder coated underneath it, of
That's
course,
right, yeah.
but I didn't realise that you could just do it all in one go.
Yeah.
So-
Yep.
Yeah, it's
So-
interesting.
you know, powder. We do powder on site, I suppose, to give some context to that. And so we don't do our wet spraying on site, and powder you can only get so many colours as made colours. You can get colours made, but it's quite expensive, and there's minimum order levels are quite large for that. So, you know, unless it's something that you know, you really want, and you want to, you know, spend the money on to get matched up to your vehicle, then, you know, you can do that. But, you know, there's so many colours available now, and so many vehicle colours available in powder now, and you know, some of the finishes are pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, they're up there. Like powder coating was also always known as like the industrial finish, and there wasn't much range in their colours, but that's changed a lot over the years. But we do have wet spray available. You know, we've got some good companies that we work with for that as well. So,
yeah, okay. Yeah, and I mean, I like that that other texture sort of coat, powder coat you've used.
Yeah, it's super
that.
popular. It's it matches in with a lot of the accessories that, you know, that go along with the four-wheel driving community, and even parts of the vehicles that are very similar in that. So it blends the two together, and it's a hard wearing. It's hard wearing. It doesn't leave fingerprints and things like that. So
yeah, right. All right. Well, I don't know if there's any more questions out there that anyone wants to ask, but
Pink Canopy would be cool.
hey,
Pink Canopy.
more on Instagram.
it'd be a good change to do a pink canopy, to be honest. So
The majority of them are
I'm just trying to find the
Texture
Instagram one
black.
again. Where is it?
white. Like they're all pretty popular. White, like colour match to the car.
Where have I missed one? No, that's it.
we've even done the tintable Raptor coat for a whole canopy and tray before, which was different. So
Wow.
yeah, that was a learning experience as well. So,
I bet.
yeah. So it was good. It was around for a long time, and it's obviously still around, but that customer's moved on to something different now.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Yeah.
but yeah, it was the first time we'd ever done the whole lot. We'd done parts and components and things like that. But yeah, it was good too. It wasn't just a run of the mill sort of black or anything like that. It was actually a metallic blue for for a Mazda. So yeah, it came up really cool. It was different. So which is, you know, when you see the same things over and over again, just to see something different, it's always good.
How many workers have you got at Arcpoint?
I think there's a total of 11 of us there now
Yeah.
at the moment, I think.
Yeah, we're not super huge, so
No.
11.
11's enough
Yeah, absolutely.
for the time being, anyway. So.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a couple
We could
more
always
coming.
use more.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, well, that's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, groggy. What are you guys working on right now in jobs?
Right now, we're doing we're doing a repeat job for a local customer that's a vet. So he's an equine vet, and he's got a custom refrigerated drawer unit in the back of it. So it's pretty cool.
For all the medicine and stuff.
Yeah, for all the to hold all the drugs for doing whatever vets do to horses. And,
Yeah, right.
so we're doing the second round of that.
Yeah.
On a Hilux, and we've also got a D-Max 6-wheeler in there. That's it's having everything you can throw at it put on it. So I'll try and get some stuff up when that's finished. It's going to be quite a build. So
Right.
yeah, it's got a really hectic electrical system in it. The biggest we've ever tackled.
Yeah.
It's got it's 2 canopies, tray, storage units, diesel pods, pumps. Like I said, the huge electrical system. We're doing alternator upgrades, and you know.
So you guys are doing that stuff?
So we work in with a company in Toowoomba that helps us with a lot of the electrical stuff. Michael's Electronics. They build all our big panels, and they've given us the training to install them. So some of the stuff we'll do. So the plug and play stuff, but all the really technical stuff we leave to the experts. So
Yeah. No,
So,
fair
gotcha.
enough too. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Way better than us. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the craziest request to add to a build so far?
I don't know.
Don't know.
TVs and air conditioners. It's all pretty normal now, I suppose.
I know it's crazy, but it's the
I
norm.
suppose The to start with, the craziest one was like a bed. Like
Yeah, we've put beds
we've
inside them.
Mhm.
made
I don't think that's
canopy.
crazy. I had a bed in my canopy.
Yeah.
First one was like a pull-out bed. Oh,
And it had its own midgie net around it and everything like that, and it was basically a drawer unit that pulled out with a full-size single mattress in it.
Yeah.
We had someone step it up again from that with a drawer unit that had a double bed pull out from it, and they actually got an
Serious.
annex put in there, made to suit the profile of the door of the canopy. So they opened the canopy door and pulled their annex down, and you know,
Wow.
they had visions of putting telly up there that swings down, and overhead water tanks. We've got hot water systems, you know, you name it, they put it in it now. So
The moral to it is sky's the limit, do whatever you want.
pretty much.
It can be done, that's for sure. All right, we've got a couple more and then we'll wrap it up at that, I think. Can they do other things apart from just a canopy?
Yeah, so look, we've had customers that we've never actually met before. So you know, it comes from the dealership as a bare bones cab chassis ute, and we work with other people. You know, a lot of it, some of the extra stuff we don't do in house, but you know, suspension, long range fuel tanks, GVM upgrades, you know, electrical systems, spotlights, UHFs, you know, and give it back to the dealer as a complete car with all their upgrades done, wheels and tyres, you know. Give it back to the back to the dealer, I should say, or to the customer, wherever they may be. And they've got, you know, some people don't have the time to do all that shopping around and stuff like that. So, you know, some of it we like I said, we don't do in house, but we can organise it and we can do all the running around for it. So
Yeah. Wow. Why they went with the US truck?
for the display,
I'm guessing.
I guess we weighed it up with. I think we compared the two with a 79.
it was,
Yeah, we compared it with a 79, and I guess it was a little bit different at the time. Again, now that's probably not the case. A lot of the displays for companies that do the similar things to what we do have got the big American truck with all the fruit on it. So it was just something to stand out, I guess. So there was no real preference to that. I guess why we did it. Yeah, it's a comfortable car.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of hard to park in some places, but it's also not the biggest of the American trucks either. So
No.
But yeah, we were doing heaps of 79 stuff, and we had some good customers that let us put them on display and things like that. And you know, we saw the opportunity to jump into the Silverado, and we did. Yeah, we did.
It's been good. Yeah.
It gives us the room too to show off a lot of stuff. So some of the smaller vehicles like a D-Max or something, you can only fit so much in. Yeah. And you know, even that canopy is probably larger than what we would do standard height-wise, you know, width-wise and length-wise, to maybe not length, but just to fit as much as we could in it to show people what we could do.
Yeah. Yeah, right. All right. So we will get close to wrapping it up now. Now, we're going to do a trip together. Where do you want to do that trip? Is there anything thought-wise?
I don't know. I'd be grateful to go anywhere, to be honest.
Love it.
I reckon somewhere, you know, up, you know.
So what sort of trip is it going to be?
I don't know.
No, but I mean, a full driving trip, a touring trip, a
Bit of both. I don't mind
scenic trip?
Yeah, the full driving parts we enjoy, I feel.
Yeah, to a point. Yeah, I'm up for the adventure. I like to see things that I've never seen before. Like I said, I was actually talking to you earlier about it. The adventure, the story behind it. So you know, the history appeals to me. So you know, the story behind it, and going, you know, and having someone that knows about that to explain it to you as you go along. That's that doesn't come up every day. So
no,
you know.
and that's it. It's I love that part myself. It's really cool, all that sort of stuff.
But
That's
yeah,
for sure.
we're pretty new to four-wheel driving, to be honest. Like, as in, like,
Oh, yeah.
going out and doing it. We,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
spend a lot of time working on other people's vehicles, and it wasn't until that good group of friends that that basically pulled us out of the shed and said, "Come and actually use your product." And Andy from Custom Lithium was probably one of those
Yeah.
ones that said, let's go and test some of this stuff out. And we thoroughly enjoyed it. So we want to do more of it. And we learn so much about what we do, like our products. So, what works and what doesn't work,
right.
which you just can't get sitting in a workshop
No.
or behind a computer.
No, no, and that's it. When you can put the products into use and use them to their potential, it doesn't get better than that sort of thing. So no, I love that sort of stuff. So where do we find you? How do we get to you?
So where we're located, we're out in Allera, so just south of Toowoomba, between Toowoomba and Warwick. We're on all the socials and things like that, as well as we've got a website. So.
But you're not under Arcpoint, are you, on Instagram either?
Yeah, we are. It's just the way that I'd set it up to start with is a bit odd. So I'm still learning about that. So I've just changed that in Instagram. It sort of should be at Arcpoint Industries. Now.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's Arcpoint Industries.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yep. And website's Arcpoint Industries.
Yeah, just www.arcpointindustries.com.au.
All right. Oh, we've got somebody else just asked. How many trips have you done?
Wow. 3?
3 trips.
3. So
Not a lot
was
yet.
it 3? So we went one into Sundown National Park. That was the first one.
Yeah.
And anyone that went knew how nervous I was about taking the Silverado into that.
Yeah.
And then
You did Garry,
we did the Garry clean-up
first one.
2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt and I went up with that and had a great time.
We went to Black Duck.
And we went to Black Duck as well.
Yeah.
So,
And then you went to Garry again?
Garry again.
Yep.
So 4, there you go. So veterans in it. But yeah, nothing too out there. So,
No. It's not always about that.
No, like I said, it's the adventure and just to see something different and go somewhere where someone hasn't been for ages or for whatever, that excites me. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. All right. Well, we will wrap it up. I hope that's been informative for everybody to watch, listen to, and have a chat. But look, comment below for us so that we know if you enjoyed that, because I'm thinking about doing more of this with different people, as well as asking me questions on different trips and what I'm doing and this, that, and the other. So I'd love to get some feedback on that, because I don't know about you guys, but that was quite interesting for me on just learning bits and pieces like that, and I know it would have been for others out there. So thank you, and I'll catch you all next time. And make sure you tune in this Friday, because we have Captain Thunderbolt. It'll be on at 7:30 this Friday night. So, and that's a pretty cool story. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you. Have we killed it?